The 2000s. It was such a pivot point, an era that was caught right between the physical world of the 20th century and this super connected digital age we're all living in now. And right in that moment, your whole identity was basically defined by three things: the city you repped, the clothes you wore, and the tech that was in your pocket. It was a total reset of how we showed up in public.
So, think back for a second. What was your uniform? Were you all about that velour tracksuit? Maybe rocking those memorable ultra low-rise jeans? And the big question, was it a Sidekick or a Razr in your pocket? Because let me tell you, back then that choice said absolutely everything about you. Today we're going to unpack exactly what it all meant.
All right, so here's the game plan. We'll kick things off with the decade's main style before we go on a little tour through the three cities that really owned the 2000s. Then we'll get into the tech that connected everybody, and finally, we'll see how all of it basically laid the groundwork for the world we live in today. Okay, first thing you have to get straight. The 2000s wasn't just one look. Oh no. It was more like a battle, a total clash of two very, very different aesthetics that were competing for the top spot all through the decade. So on one side, you had this whole Y2K Futurism thing going on. Think The Matrix. Lots of metallic silvers, that sleek black leather, all very clean and inspired by tech. But that vibe pretty quickly gave way to its louder, flashier rival, McBling. And this was the era of the velour, rhinestones, and the all-powerful it item. It was a loud, proud celebration of personality and, of course, big logos.
So let's make our first stop in New York City. This is really where the whole aesthetic of hip-hop culture smashed right into high fashion, and suddenly luxury logos became a kind of currency out on the street.
The New York uniform? It was all about being seen. For women, it was those must-have it bags like the Fendi Baguette and brands like Baby Phat, which were famous for rhinestone-covered tops and those iconic tracksuits. For men, the look was straight out of hip-hop: baggy, wide-legged jeans, oversized basketball jerseys, classic Timbs, and of course, thick layered gold chains that scream status and street cred.
And you gotta see this as way more than just clothes. As fashion historian Dr. Mickey McLean puts it, that baggy silhouette was a real statement. It was a conscious pushback against the mainstream, a physical way of carving out your own space and identity in a city that was packed.
All right, now let's head out west to Los Angeles, a city that was defined by a totally different cultural force, the explosion of celebrity tabloid culture. And this created a whole new kind of uniform, one designed to be seen through a paparazzi lens, a style you could call accessible Hollywood.
Oh, you know this look. We all do. The juicy couture velour tracksuit was basically the crown jewel, usually paired with some Ugg boots. And then, of course, you had the Von Dutch trucker hat, the super low-rise Frankie B jeans, and those giant sunglasses. It created this unmistakable vibe, kind of like a mix of Hollywood, sunny weather, and this optimism that just completely ignored any fashion rules coming from New York or Paris.
And here's the thing. This look wasn't an accident. Not at all. It was basically engineered by celebrity stylists like Rachel Zoe for stars like Lindsay Lohan and Nicole Richie. It was shimmery, it was boho chic, and most importantly, like photographer Carlos Eric Lopez points out, it was accessible. Magazines like Us Weekly turned those paparazzi shots into a literal shopping guide for the rest of the world.
Okay, for our final city, we're going to Chicago. Now, for a long time, Chicago was a bit of an overlooked market, but in the 2000s, it really emerged as a cultural powerhouse. It defined a whole new kind of cool that was homegrown, built from the ground up.
In Chicago, the uniform was built around your feet. Air Jordans weren't just sneakers, they were like cultural artifacts. You'd pair those with premium denim and oversized jackets. And thanks to artists like Lupe Fiasco, this skater vibe started to seep into the city's hip-hop scene. It was a look that blended smarts with street style, championed by a whole new wave of artists like Lupe, and of course Kanye West.
And what Pharrell Williams said here really just it perfectly captures this whole shift. Your footwear became your introduction. Your sneakers were your identity, a symbol of where you belonged that told your story before you even had to say a word.
But this whole scene wasn't just about the clothes, not even close. It was powered by the hardware that connected everyone. See, in the 2000s, your tech wasn't just a tool. It was a full-on fashion statement, a badge of identity you wore just as proudly as any logo.
And the decade was really defined by a battle between two absolute giants. In one corner, you had the T-Mobile Sidekick. It was kind of quirky, super social, and built for a generation that texted first, asked questions later. And in the other corner, the Motorola Razr.
It was all about being sleek, stylish, and impossibly thin, the perfect accessory for that accessible Hollywood look.
Let's just focus on the Sidekick for a second. When it launched in 2002, it was a total game changer. I mean, that iconic swivel screen and the full keyboard made it the ultimate social machine. It was one of the very first phones to put the real internet in your pocket, with AIM and MySpace built right in. That felt absolutely revolutionary at the time.
And, this user on Lemonade just says it perfectly. The Sidekick was so much more than a phone. It was a cultural icon. Having one was a status symbol. That signature chime, the satisfying snap of the screen, it literally shaped the entire rhythm of social life for a whole generation.
And you can't talk about 2000s tech without bringing up the iPod. This little device completely changed how we experienced public spaces. It created something called sensory gating, which basically let you screen out all the unwanted sounds of the city and create your own personal, private auditory bubble. You were walking down the street, but you were living in your own little sound world.
And all of this, the fashion, the cities, the tech, it wasn't just some passing phase. It literally laid the foundation for the culture that we're all living in right now.
So when you really boil it down, you see these incredibly distinct identities just pop. New York was all about that logomania and bling. LA absolutely perfected that off-duty celebrity glam. And Chicago built its entire identity on street credibility and swagger. 3 cities, 3 totally different philosophies, all defining one unforgettable decade.
Just think about it for a second. The baggy silhouettes and sneaker culture of the 2000s, that's the direct ancestor of modern streetwear. The whole celebrity paparazzi cycle in LA, well, that gave birth to the influencer and the whole idea of personal branding. The Sidekick established the text-first social rules we all live by now, and the iPod's auditory bubble is now just the default way a lot of us move through the world.
Which really leaves us with one final thought. The uniform of the 2000s was a physical thing, a statement about your city and your hardware. But today, our uniforms are more and more digital. Our social media feeds, our curated aesthetics, our online selves. So the question is, what does our new uniform, our digital one, really say about who we've become?